to when you're making a film to focus it, on the it sounds sort of silly, but the narrative, on the story,
Hmm.
on the people, on the decision, the tough decisions that the characters have to go through, and their desires, their goals, and then how they're achieving them, sort of basic filmmaking stuff. And the water that they're swimming around in, the setting, that's where the message can kind of be implanted, and so whatever the sort of scenario that they're in is, what you, the viewer, are gonna kind of like soak up, no matter like what happens in the film. So if you are with the characters and you're on their side and you're understanding their perspective and their decision making, and it feels logical and it feels, like what you would do as a viewer, you have the ability to then, by adjusting the world around them, whatever kind of like fish tank you drop them into, the scenery is what kind of gets soaked up in some ways. And so I think in this case, trying to make sure that the scenery around them was relatable, understandable, and, charged with the right pieces that we needed to, to sort of talk about what we were trying to talk about while simultaneously not overwhelming, I think was an important piece for us.
And I would just I'd add in that, I think one of the things that Sam and I try really hard to do for, everyone, for instance, in this film who Sophie and Oscar interact with, to try and really make sure that the actors understand where they're coming at. Like, so for instance, when we're working with the ICE agents, we're not saying you have an agenda here. We're saying, like, hey, this is your job. You're here to remove people. Someone says to you, hey, go to this spot and remove people. That's what you do. So, I think for us, trying to really hold everyone fairly in their position, and not say, oh, we're trying to, villainize one person or another, and just to say, hey, everyone here is just trying to do their job, and yet look at how this system is not is failing this family.
One of the things I was thinking about is you mentioned Paul Thomas Anderson, that you guys were big fans of.
Yeah, totally.
I'm curious, were there any scenes from any of his particular movies that um, inspired you a little bit for this particular film?
I mean, I think, I think there is some, I mean, not directly, I would say, is the answer, but I do think there is some parallel between parts of Punch Drunk Love in this film.
Hmm.
There's a kind of restless, roaming camera. I think there were times when we had, like, even our film has no score, but there are times, I think, when we tried like temping in bits of the John Bryan score from parts of Punch Drunk Love to see if that
Oh,
kind of
wow.
tempo would feel right. It didn't in the end, which is why we ended up going with sort of no score. But I think that kind of like offbeat, kind of relentless energy, I think, certainly was a piece of that. I mean, I think that's definitely, yeah, that's definitely, could be an influence here, though I don't know if it's directly one. In terms of other PTA films, um, yeah, maybe not directly in this. Though there are certain parts, I think, I mean, in Phantom Thread, there's sort of a genuine level of interaction between the two main characters that I think isn't a kind of a direct uh, reference, but certainly there are some moments there that we really respond to, and I think trying to find um, moments where our two main characters could kind of be so genuinely kind of in love with each other, I think is really important for to make the story function in our film.
This topic of immigration right now is really, I mean, just all over the news, and it's pretty explosive. Do you have any concerns at all in terms of your film being added to the mix with such a controversial topic at the moment?
Yeah, it's something we've certainly talked about. I think at the end of the day, like, our feeling is that the film is tried to be rooted in, in families and people, and
Yeah.
folks going through this process that so many people go through in this country. And it doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you're on. This is a process that we go through. And so, while it is political in this space right now, we're certainly just, we're advocating for uh, an immigration process that's humane and that's thoughtful of the people going through it, and we think that anyone can agree with that.
Tell me a little bit about what this Oscar nomination can mean to the two of you in terms of your careers.
Yeah, it's funny. I think when we think about it, we sort of see it as a marathon, and I think we're at mile 2, and we have many many more miles to run, and so I think in some ways, we're people who just we kind of like to run. That's what we like to do. If people want to, stand on the sidelines of the marathon and clap and wave flags and cheer, like that's lovely, and we're so appreciative of everyone's support. But I think truly in the end, like we're just guys who like to run, and so for us the journey is ahead of us, and where this allows us to do more of what we like to do, I think.
And what is the next thing that the two of you would like to do?
Yeah, we're currently working on our debut feature right now.
Can you give us any hint as to what it's about or anything?
Not yet, but it takes a nod from some of the shorts we've done, and I think I don't know, we think it's a really exciting story, and people are going to resonate with it. But yeah, that's all I can say at the moment.
This film is dealing with an important issue of our time. You mentioned you love the Marx Brothers and Jurassic Park and other filmmakers. What can we expect from you just in general in your career? Are you going to be filmmakers who make films about socially relevant themes all the time, or are there a variety of different types of movies that the two of you want to make?
Oh, that's a big one. I mean, we have lists and lists and lists of ideas. We're always finding new stories that inspire us. I think, we do think that our role, as artists is to, you know, be kind of in conversation with each other and with the world around us, and try to kind of crystallize, the what we're engaging with in the world, and crystallize that for the viewer. But I think, I don't know if all of our films will be so overtly political. Obviously, I don't think, I can't read the future, but I think we're always interested in themes that we think apply to us, or that we're thinking about, but certainly putting those into stories that are really varied in the space they live in.
Yeah, I think filmmaking in general, films that have resonance resonate because um, the topics or the themes, kind of reverberate in with the cultural zeitgeist. And so I think good films in general do that across the board. So our films will probably always have some themes that hit onto a current cultural zeitgeist, or a larger sort of class consciousness or whatever. But I think that's all good films have that. And so I think our desire to make films that resonate with people is sort of naturally in tune with that in some ways. But I think, yeah, like David said, our stories, we're hoping, we try as always to put the story first, and like make things that people can't take their eyes off of.
Is this the first time you guys are going to the Oscars or not?
Yeah, it's our first time. Very exciting.
Can you tell me, besides, obviously, I'm sure you're going to be waiting on the edge of your seat to hear who wins in your category, but anything else that you're looking forward to that night in particular?
I think for myself, it's funny. I don't feel so stressed about who's going to win the Oscars. I sort of feel like everybody wins by getting to go.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the fun has already happened. So honestly, I'm most excited to just be with the other short film nominees. I think we spent a lot of time with them over the last couple weeks on Zoom, working out the details of the theatrical release and various things like that. And I think it just seems like we have 3 or 5 really incredible films, and really 5 incredible teams of filmmakers. And so I'm excited to spend some time with them. And all of us have gone to the Oscars, I think, for the first time together. So it's kind of fun to be part of that group, that class, and get to kind of experience it as a team.
That's awesome. And if people want to see this movie, are there opportunities for people to see your film?
Yeah, you can find it online on Vimeo for free right now. So it's if you're in the U.S., and there'll be a theatrical release coming out on the 14th, and so those would be the easiest places to see the film, as well as it's coming around the world and in a bunch of different places in the next couple weeks.
Well, Sam and David, I want to thank you so much for coming on the program, and congratulations again. I want everyone to check out Lien, and I wish the best of you luck for that night, but I'm so excited to hear about your next project. Hopefully we can speak again when the time is right. But, man, great job.
Thanks, Tom.
We love that. Thanks so much, Tom.
And a pleasure being on the show.
Thank you. Take it easy, guys.